Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and well, it pretty much looks like Dirk Cutter is going to be fired after this season, but who should replace him? In today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 potential Dirk Cutter replacements in the Buccaneers' upcoming offseason. So, without further ado, let's get right into the list. Coming in first, the first guy I want to talk about is actually former Green Bay Packers head coach Mike McCarthy, who was fired this year following a loss from the Arizona Cardinals. He spent 13 years in Green Bay, and he only had 3 losing seasons in 13 years, including this year. I will count that as a losing season just for statistical purposes. So 3 losing years in 13 years. That is pretty darn good in my opinion, and he would probably be a huge profile signing, if not the biggest profile signing the Buccaneers could possibly make in this offseason. You know how the Glazers like to do. They like making very splashy moves when it comes to their coaching staff and their front offices and whatnot. They sometimes like making these really big splashy moves. They did it with Tony Dungy. They did it with John Gruden. The Glazers aren't afraid to go out and make a high profile signing, and Mike McCarthy would totally be the highest of profile signings out of all the available candidates. Just going a little bit into his overall career with the Packers, like I said, his coaching record is pretty darn impeccable. 125 wins, 77 losses, and 2 ties. However, his postseason record was 10 wins and 8 losses. He's an offensive-minded coach, and a lot of people are very conflicted about whether or not they want Mike McCarthy to be the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't blame them at all. That makes total sense to me. I completely understand. A lot of people say, well, the only reason Mike McCarthy won was because of Aaron Rodgers. But I don't think that's honestly all of it. You could argue that, you know, the defenses were really good for Mike McCarthy in most of his seasons with the team, and when he won the Super Bowl, the defense was another big part of that. The quarterback can't win you an entire game. You need an entire team effort, and the head coach is just as much a part of that as anybody. So I feel that you can't just say that Aaron Rodgers was the only reason that Mike McCarthy was successful. I think that that is a bit of a stretch, in my opinion. Regardless, 125 wins, 77 losses. That is a one hell of an impressive record, way better than any Buccaneers coach has ever done, although I imagine if you had given Tony Dungy 13 years or maybe John Gruden 13 years, they could have had similar numbers, especially Tony Dungy. But Mike McCarthy, I do know he's an offensive-minded coach, and it would be a little bit strange from going from one offensive-minded coach to another offensive-minded coach, but this is a move I could see happening. I think that Mike McCarthy will at least get an interview, at least get a chance to be given the job for the Buccaneers head coach position. And if they do sign him, you know, it would give this team instant credibility. So I could see the Glazers heavily considering him as an option. Second guy that I want to talk about is Jim Schwartz, defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles from 2016 up to the current day. And man, he has had one hell of a good time running this Eagles defense, especially whenever they won the Super Bowl. It was all pretty much on their really nice defense. The Eagles have had a good defense since Schwartz got there, and not only has Schwartz done a good job with the Philadelphia Eagles, he was doing a good job with the Buffalo Bills as well, until Rex Ryan came in, made a mess of everything, brought his own guys in, and Schwartz went to the Philadelphia Eagles and did good things with the defense there as well. The one thing that I'm a little bit sketched out on for Jim Schwartz is his previous head coaching history with the Detroit Lions. He was their head coach from 2009 all the way to 2013. He was not responsible for the 0-16 season, I am very happy to say, but in 5 NFL seasons with the Detroit Lions, he only had 1 winning record where they did go to the playoffs and when they would be 1 and done. So giving him a head coaching record of 29 wins, 51 losses, and an overall playoff record of 0 wins and 1 loss. The thing I like about Jim Schwartz is he's really no nonsense. This guy does not take gaff from anybody. He is really stoic, really serious, and really dedicated to doing his job regardless of what position you give him, and I have a lot of respect for that. I think we saw a little bit more of that in Dirk Cutter than all the other previous coaches we've had since we fired Tony Dungy and John Gruden. But I feel like Jim Schwartz would really bring that level of no nonsense up to like a million. I really think that he would be a guy that would say, okay, we're all here to do our jobs. Let's go do our freaking jobs. And that's it. You know, that's exactly what it is. Like I said, Dirk Cutter showed a little bit of that, but Schwartz, I think, would just do a phenomenal job. in that type of attitude, in that type of way. Really bring a culture change. It really brings some seriousness to this team that I think it's lacking in a way. It's still there in ways with players like Jason Pierre-Paul, DeMar Dodson, among others, but it could be more. It could be greater, you know? So Jim Schwartz, I wouldn't mind him as an option, but the overall head coaching record in the past with the Lions does worry me a little bit. Now I know there's that argument saying, well, they can learn from their mistakes, you know, come on now, you know, he can learn from his mistakes and he can do a better job. If the Bucs did hire him, I really hope that would be the case. Otherwise, we would just maybe waste another couple of years. But I wouldn't mind Jim Schwartz. I really like his attitude and the culture that he would probably bring to the team. So yeah, he's definitely a top option for me as well. Third option that I wanted to talk about, and this one's a little bit different. Both of the guys that I just mentioned have already been former NFL head coaches in the past, especially with Mike McCarthy. He was a former NFL head coach this season. This guy has not had an opportunity yet to be an NFL head coach, but I think he has a whole heck of a lot of good potential in him. It is Chris Richard, the defensive backs coach for the Dallas Cowboys, former defensive back coach and former defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. And much like Jim Schwartz, this guy is pretty much good wherever you put him. He has most recently been calling plays for the Dallas Cowboys and kind of running their defense this year. And their defense has been escalated to insane levels. Last year, they were probably middle of the pack, maybe slightly below average to moderately below average, and now they're one of the top defenses in the league. They're doing a phenomenal job. They just shut out the Saints. That's awesome. That's really awesome for the Cowboys defense to be able to do that to such a high-tier offense. And one of the main reasons is because of Chris Richard. He won a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks. He's partially responsible for the Legion of Boom, and he did a really nice job as the defensive coordinator while he was in Seattle as well. He has been a really hot candidate, not just this year, but last year as well, so I could see him getting a lot of attention. Among all of these guys, really, all of these guys are going to be getting a lot of attention, but Chris Richard specifically, he's only 42 years young, so he's one of those kind of younger defensive coordinator type guys who will probably get signed on, be a young, hot coordinator type guy. So I could see him getting a lot of attention, which is fine. You know, that's expected. But I think the Bucs should heavily consider that, at least give him an interview. I understand that there's going to be a lot of jobs available, so he might not pick the Bucs. But I do want us to at least try and get him because I think he could do wonders for our secondary, which has been a problem for at least the last year, maybe even 2 years if you want to go back that far. And I think he would do wonders for the defense just in general. I would hope that he would probably keep guys like Mark Duffner and Brenton Buckner, but that probably would not happen. But still, I think that he would do a phenomenal job with this defense, and I think he deserves an opportunity to be a head coach in this league. Fourth guy that I want to talk about is the third defensive coach in a row. Don't worry, we're going to be talking about one more offensive-minded coach after this. And this guy, honestly, he's probably my second favorite option to be the Bucs NFL head coach. And I'm surprised a lot of Buccaneers outlets haven't been talking about this guy more because he's phenomenal. It's Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator of the Bears. I might have butchered his last name. I'm just going to call him Vic for the rest of this video. So Vic, like I said, he was the defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears currently. He's doing a phenomenal job, and I know they have Khalil Mack, but still, you know, he's really brought back this Bears defense, really brought back defense into the city of Chicago. It's what they were famous for. It's what they won multiple playoff games, you know, what made them a phenomenal team. He's been able to bring that back to this team, and now they just won the NFC North. I think if he came to the Bucs, he would really help out this defense in a major way. I really am kind of more favoring the Buccaneers to sign a defensive-minded coach, and I think this guy would probably be the top option in my opinion. He interviewed for the head coaching job for the Bears last year until they eventually gave it to Matt Nagy, which that's fine. Matt Nagy's been doing a wonderful job for the Bears. He's 60 years old, so he's a little bit on the older side, and he's never been an NFL head coach before up until this point, which I think is a crime because what he's been able to do with NFL defenses has been great. It's been absolutely wonderful, not just for the Chicago Bears this year. He was also with the San Francisco 49ers from 2011 to 2015 when they had Jim Harbaugh and they were going to the Super Bowl, and they were just doing absolutely wonderful things. A big part of that 49ers success was their defense, and Vic Fangio was there as well as with the Chicago Bears. every team he's gone to so far up until this point, at least until 2011, he's transformed their defenses into these wonderful, awesome units that just really bring back defense to, football. I know in this current era, it's pretty much an offensive-driven league, but Vic Fangio is really making a point to bring defense back and prove that defenses can really, really make you a darn good team, and you just... you don't need to have this high-powered offense with a really low-tier defense. You don't have to win games that way. You can win games the opposite way. Having a average to maybe a below-average offense and having the top defense in the league, you can win just as many games, if not more. I really like him a lot. He's my second best option, in my opinion, to be the Buccaneers head coach. I really want to see him get an opportunity to be a head coach, and I really, really hope that the Bucs bring him in for an interview because I like him a lot. Finally, the last guy that I want to talk about is an offensive-minded coach, like I said, and, I didn't want to put him on this list. I did not want to put him on this list because I really don't like him anymore. He did something last offseason that I'll talk about that I really just did not like under any circumstances, but he's always a really hot candidate, so I just had to put him on this list. It is Josh McDaniels. Now, Josh McDaniels, what can be said about him? Offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, former Denver Broncos head coach. His head coaching record was not impressive. We'll get into that in a minute. 5-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots. The dude's a beast. He's just an absolute beast. He's a 5-time Super Bowl champion, so that is what that is. If whoever brings him in will obviously have a proven winner on the team. You can say that Bill Belichick is one of the main reasons for the Patriots' success, if not the reason, and I would not blame you. I think that Bill Belichick is the reason for the Patriots' success for the most part. But you can't deny that Josh McDaniels hasn't played a role in it. He's been very big part of that Patriots offense and what they've been able to do as an overall unit. He's always getting mentioned as a potential head coach candidate all up until his return to New England after leaving the Denver Broncos, getting fired by the Denver Broncos, I guess I should say. He's always mentioned. He's kind of that classic example of a guy who, he didn't do good at first, but maybe he can come back and learn from his mistakes. He's like that top guy. The problem I have with Josh McDaniels is what he did last offseason to the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts had him signed, basically. They were going to make Josh McDaniels their head coach. I believe even Josh McDaniels had his assistants picked out and whatnot. Like, they were ready to go. They had all the cap room in the world. It was going to be Josh McDaniels' team. Build the team how you want to build it, Josh McDaniels. And then he backed out of the deal. He just 100% backed out of the deal, said, no, I am not going to be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going back to New England, and just completely screwed over the Colts. So they had to basically restart their whole coaching search process all over again. Now, the Colts, they ended up with Frank Reich, which in my opinion, he's looking like a pretty darn good head coach right now. So maybe they ended up with the better option in the end, but that really stuck in my craw the wrong way. I do not like what Josh McDaniels did to the Indianapolis Colts. That really takes a shot at what I think his loyalty is for other teams around the league. Can you trust Josh McDaniels to even be your head coach if you want to sign him? Or is he going to back out and go back and join New England because he knows that that's where the Super Bowls are, that's where the playoffs are, that's like the safest option for him? Or is he going to finally take that leap back into head coaching and actually run his own team again? Or is he fine being complacent where he is? That's a question that has yet to be answered. He obviously answered it one way last year with the Indianapolis Colts. Will he answer it another way this year? I don't know. That's tough to say. That's really tough to say. A lot of Bucs fans seem to want Josh McDaniels. Me personally, I want nothing to do with him, but I still think that the Buccaneers are at least going to interview him, at least take a look at him, and at least consider him. His head coaching record with the Broncos was not good. It was 11 wins, 17 losses. A big part of that was because of his decision to decide to stick with Tim Tebow. I like Tim Tebow, but at the end of the day, he was not franchise quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and Josh McDaniels was very stubborn. He stuck with him until the very end, until it costed Josh McDaniels his job, and that kind of worries me a little bit because I get stubbornness to a certain degree, but when you're doing it to the detriment of the team, that's when it's a problem. Fine example, Dirk Cutter did not fire Mike Smith until he absolutely had to. That's a part of stubbornness that can really cost a team. Dirk Cutter sticking with Mike Smith for so long really cost this team a lot of games, a lot of wins, and it ultimately is going to cost Dirk Cutter his job. So I don't want to see another head coach that has that type of stubbornness in him, because that's just not good for the franchise. So, I don't know. Josh McDaniels is definitely not on my list. Maybe he's on some of your guys' lists as well. Tell you what, if you want Josh McDaniels, let me know why down in the comments section below. Maybe you guys can convince me. But some final honorable mentions for, I guess, the final list of head coaching candidates is Urban Meyer. He just recently retired from Ohio State. He's probably done coaching, but you never know. I'm sure the Bucs will at least consider it, just because why not, you know? They'll probably at least give him a phone call. John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin. I didn't include them in this list because they haven't been fired yet. I might do an updated list if they do get fired or if they leave the team. But for now, I didn't want to name anybody who hasn't left their current team yet. I included Mike McCarthy since he's already been fired, but I did not include John Harbaugh or Mike Tomlin because, quite frankly, they haven't been fired yet. We don't know what's going to happen. Both of them could be retained possibly. They could hash things out with their owners, so we have no idea. That's why I didn't include them. Herm Edwards, he is 100% on the top of my list. I love Herm Edwards. I really couldn't tell you why. I just really like his attitude. Now, he also does not have a very good head coaching track record, and I'm sure I might make a whole video talking about Herm Edwards and why I support him. But for now, I just like the fact that he is a really no-nonsense type of guy. Kind of like Jim Schwartz. He's almost exactly like in the same boat as Jim Schwartz. I like him a lot. He's one of the top guys on my list, but I also really like Vic Fangio. So one of the two, those guys are my two top options. Bruce Arians, he's probably not going to come to the Buccaneers. He has pretty much said repeatedly that the only team he's going to come to is the Cleveland Browns if they offer him something. So, you know, he's probably not going to come to the Bucs regardless. And then finally, Greg Williams, the interim Browns head coach. I really don't think that he's going to be the permanent head coach. I know I just said that I'm not including John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin because of the exact reason that I'm, you know, wanted to include Greg Williams, but the point is that I don't think that Greg Williams is going to be the head coach of this team. He might, who knows? I think he'll get an interview with the Browns, but you know, I think it'd be cool. He also has a no-nonsense attitude, and I like that a lot. But let me know what you guys think about all this down in the comment section below. What are your potential Buccaneers head coaching candidates? Let me know all of that down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your options and why they are your options, why you would want them, why you don't want them. Let me know all of that down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. And until next time, guys, I will see you in the next video. But until then, and as always, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.